Well, welcome back to another weekly podcast here at Sportmentary. This is Sportmentary, and joining me is the Comish from Winnipeg. Hey, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, so tonight, I think you and I were discussing, we want to do something cool, like let's say a mixed bag type of thing. So we're going to start with a little bit of Winnipeg Blue Bombers and what's going on. Talk about what's going on in the past few days. We're going to then talk about Tony Romo and some stuff we came across today. And then we'll end it in what we call in a word, right? You're gonna just throw some headlines or some stories, names, whatever, and I'm gonna come up with one word that I think describes those people or stories. All right? Are we in agreement? Shall we go?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. As usual, I'm just going to let you kind of lead us into the Bomber situation.
Well, the stage was set Friday for a major shakeup. I think it was Thursday that the Bombers it was leaked out through the Free Press that we talked about this, that Joe Mack had recommended that Garth Buchko recommended that Joe Mack be fired. But in what can only be described as a Black Friday for the Bombers organization, they not only fired Joe Mack, but Garth Buchko also walked the plank. And a new CEO or interim CEO was named, Wade Miller, the former Bomber. And Kyle Walters has been now promoted to interim GM. So the Bombers are really a team in turmoil. There's two sides to this story. No one knows where the truth lies. No one knows what precipitated this. All we know is that there was a leak that was started, and you thought that Joe Mack would be a lame duck over the weekend and that he'd have to wait till Tuesday to find out his fate. But he found out Friday, so did Buchko. And now it's to add more fuel to the fire. The Bombers, who play an division rival in the Hamilton Tiger Cats Friday, have gone from naming Justin Goltz as their starting quarterback to now naming Max Hall, he of like 7 completions and 7 interceptions in the NFL, as their starter. So really, the team's upside down. Justin Goltz isn't happy. Tim Burke has thrown his hands up in the air and said, you know what, I'm leaving the starting quarterback decisions to my offensive unit. So he's not taking any responsibility or any leadership. Some say that he's trying to make Gary Crowton walk the plank. Others say that he just isn't head coach material. The team is just a mess right now. All this leads me to believe they'll probably end up winning Friday night.
Well, let's kind of get some perspective. First of all, we talked about the way Buchko, the way he released the information. Not that the decision to release Mack was a bad one. The way he went about it, I think you and I both agreed this is not the type of individual we want as CEO for the Bombers. They handled that in one move. They swept both of those guys outside the building. All right, great. In reality, though, that's the right thing to be done, and I've said it all along. Let's have change. Let's use. They're not going to make the playoffs. Let's use the remainder of the year to see what we've got, what we can do, and reevaluate. I don't think this is bad. It's better than doing it on the off season. At least you get a guy in here, a couple people in to evaluate the situation. So in the end, it's turmoil, and the Bombers are going to go from bad to really bad. But I think in the long term, this is the right decision. In the long term,
this should have been done at the beginning of the year. Oh, of course, the other piece of the puzzle was Monday. They named Marcel Belfoyle as an offensive consultant. So,
the offensive coordinator, I mean, really, the guy's useless. If we're being honest, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if this is the time to throw the guy under the bus. That I think is for the off season. There's been too much done to this organization now to be able to release, fire, or threaten your existing staff publicly, okay? So I think what they've got now they have to keep, and if they have decision-making to do in the off-season, that's fine. They can do it then.
But it seems like he's got one foot out the door with his Belfoyle looking over his shoulder. You have to remember, he used to be a head coach in the CFL, and he was also an offensive coordinator. So he's got all the credentials to just step in. Now, having said that, they got their offense in place, so they say it's hard to change an offensive coordinator midstream because you got to change the offense, but I'm sure that wouldn't hurt this team because they're not doing anything offensively.
Here's the thing. Like, you're going to have this guy, this offensive consultant. He's going to look at it. Then he's going to go back to management and give an assessment. It's an assessment for his job, what he sees and what he can do differently. So we might not be surprised that if maybe the last third of the season, the last maybe 5 games of the season, we might see a change. So we can see the changing of the guard, come in there, see what he can do, and also put pressure on the existing players that you got to earn your keep for next year. Because, hey, buddy, I'm going to hold you accountable. So that I could see that happening, or he gives some consulting, and in the off season they name him offensive coordinator. Now here's the thing: don't be surprised if he's named head coach. Okay, don't think he won't leapfrog that to let head coach.
Oh, there's no doubt that he's in a position to be head coach. Burke, so much as you cannot say what Burke said yesterday, which is, I'm giving control to my offensive guys. I don't know anything about offense. I can't tell you who our starting quarterback can be. How does a head coach say, I can't tell you who the starting quarterback should be? I'm all for honesty, but there's being honest, and then there's putting yourself in the line of fire, and he has just leapfrogged. I think he might have leapfrogged Gary Crowton in terms of who goes next.
Well, you remember we had disaster at Mosaic? Last year when they played at Mosaic Field and basically nobody showed up, including the head coach. Remember that? And I think one of the main things both of us agreed on is we give the guy who was in his first game as head coach or second game, we gave him some slack to say, look, the guy's wet behind the ears. But what we didn't like was as a guy that seemed to be clueless. A head coach who seemed to be clueless, and when he didn't know the answer, he told you he didn't know the answer. I don't know if that's what you want for leadership. I think he's showed that consistently. That's been my big issue with him, is he showed that consistently in press conferences. He doesn't seem to have the answer, doesn't seem to have the question. We'll have to go to the film. I don't know where he is when he's watching the game, but
I'm going to tell you where
the fan has more answers.
He's focused on the defense. I think he's just, he's got that tunnel vision. He's a defensive guy, and that's what he knows. He wasn't ready to take the step. He didn't have the right direction. He doesn't have the proper coordinators to assist him in being head coach. Head coaches should be delegating and should be determining who their starters are going to be and who needs what area of the team needs work, and he should be focusing on, are you guys doing what you need to be doing? He shouldn't be having tunnel vision going, I got to help the defense.
Well, he
should be everywhere. His presence should be felt throughout the team.
He was thrown into the position with what Mack started last year. Okay? Now, granted, he's got a whole, years gone by, and he should have learned from that. But the bottom line is, he wasn't the right guy. He was thrown right into it, and now most likely will not be the guy going forward. And that's what the Bombers have. This is going to be a horrid season. Okay, it's going to finish horribly. The fans are not going to be happy. They're not doing well in their new stadium. But here's what I think. I don't think the Bombers will be playoff bound next year, but I think you'll see a better product on the field, and that'll be the beginning for Bomber fans to say, you know what, maybe things can change. The big question mark for me isn't the offensive consultant who might be legitimate. For me, it's not the players, because some of the players have talent. To me, it's the board. It's those real people who run the team. And unless they have some leadership qualities, unless they take initiative or get the people to do it and step backwards, I don't know if this organization, it could be years before this organization is what it used to be.
Well, I'm going to say, I think that the board, stood up. They did what was right. They got rid of both Buchko and Mack. The question is Wade Miller the right guy? I would say his first move, bringing in Mr. Marcel, is a good move. And really, again, you can't just have knee-jerk reactions to these moves. There's no Band-Aid solution. There's no doubt the board messed up big time in the hire of Buchko. Maybe they didn't give him a fair shake, but really, Mack was just a non-starter. The guy hadn't been in the league for 10 years. He'd been out of football for that many. He was not... I don't know where their heads are at with that pick. They should all be stepping down for the fact they brought Joe Mack in. But anyway, They get it. You know, everybody gets a second chance. They get a second chance. The Bombers get a second chance against Hamilton this weekend. And I think we'll have to wait and see. I don't think there's much more we can say until we see what happens on the field and how these changes affect them. But I know you brought the second story to my attention.
Yes. Well, you know, this afternoon
is a lighthearted one.
Well, this afternoon I was scanning different sites, Sports Illustrated. I came across this headline that seemed innocent enough. When it comes to Tony Romo, perception doesn't always equal reality. All right? I thought this was some guy who's going to defend him, which it turned out to be. But within that article, there was something that was very interesting to me that caught my attention in the first paragraph. And I'm going to, once again, this is from SportsIllustrated.com. It's unclear why former NFL defensive lineman Travis Johnson felt the need to go all medieval on Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo in a recent appearance on CSN Houston, but the first-round pick of the Houston Texans in 2005 most certainly did so. And that's what caught my attention. So I kind of paraphrased some of what I'm going to read here in quotes, and then I went down to the video in that article, which was more telling. Some of these quotes are true, but out of context of what the real story was. It was a pretty lighthearted interview. It's kind of funny, over the top, but funny. And I think it sums up what a lot of people feel about the guy. So I'm just going to read you some quotes, okay, and then I'll let you react. And I'm going to try not to laugh as I'm doing this. So this is this Travis Johnson, former Texans player. When Tony Romo got to Dallas, he had everything around him and was a loser. At one time, he had 5 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line. They have no passing game, so nobody's worried about the run. Now, this is where it gets real juicy. Tony Romo has not earned a dollar he's been given in this league. He is a thief. They need to bring him up on federal charges right now. He don't even have a ski mask on. I'll tell you right now, if a man robs you with no ski mask on, he's going to kill you. Now, referring to the organization. That's exactly what he's doing. He's killing the franchise. He's not worried about witnesses at all. He's killing the franchise right now. There's 75,000 witnesses, and nobody's going to testify against him. And now I got to let go because that is classic, man. That is so classic. And you have to go and listen to the video when you have a chance, everybody, because the video gives it more justice.
Well, I can't tell from if this guy's a joker, if he's bitter that he is a former NFL player, or if he just has a hate-on for a bitter rival, because Houston and Dallas are rivals, or if Tony Romo actually, peed in his cornflakes one morning or something. But the fact is that Tony Romo gives the Cowboys the best chance to win at this point. And we were even talking about it, compare Tony Romo to Joe Flacco. Tony Romo gets out of the gate on fire, leads his team to some miraculous wins, but can't seem to seal the deal when it comes to the playoffs. Maybe he isn't a winner, but I would say if the size of your contract determines anything about you in life, he's definitely won something. And maybe it is the lottery, and maybe he's lucky. But again, like I said before, when you play for America's team and you're their quarterback, you're going to get big dollars, no matter who.
I disagree. When you play for America's team, you have to earn your dollars. I've told you time and time the guy is a loser. Okay? I agree. That's the one quote I agree. He's a loser. I don't believe he's robbing the team in this sense. Their inept owner / general manager signed him to the contract. He's not robbing anybody. Okay? The fans might feel robbed, and they have the legitimate reasons to, but the bottom line is he's not robbing him. He's not a thief. What he is he's just inept. He's a loser. This guy in the article quotes, if you look at statistics, he's above average. Maybe. All right? I can't argue statistics. Statistics don't win Super Bowls. And I'll say to this guy, above average doesn't command a $108 million contract over 6 years for a guy that's done nothing in the playoffs. Not even regular season. Oh, he's had many late game comebacks. But if you look at those games, and he's thrown 3 or 4 interceptions or fumbled the ball about 20 times, and he finally comes up at the end because he's playing Kansas City of old or Cleveland. Good luck to him. Good luck. Thank you. You saved the day. But it should have never got there. And you look at the playoffs, and you look at some of those games that he was just atrocious. Then you look at a game, it's a game-winning field goal. I think it was his first playoff appearance. He bobbles the snap. The guy does not have winning in his blood. The difference is Buchko, okay, Don't think he deserved the contract either. He won them a Super Bowl. Give him the money. He was stellar in the playoffs. This guy, he gets to the playoffs, I have no confidence in him.
Well, if you're talking about the playoffs, but I'm just looking at some of his stats. This guy's never had a quarterback rating of under 91.4. His career completion percentage, 64.7. And his touchdowns to interceptions doesn't look that bad either. I lost track. He's got 177 touchdowns, to 91 interceptions. The guy's a gunslinger. The guy has been working with nothing. Can you name, Des Bryant is their supposed all-star receiver. But that guy's a head case. He's barely in the game. With what he has to work with and a non-existent running game over the years, it's rare that the Cowboys have ever even contended for a spot.
When you see rookies outflanking the guy, I just want to say here, the guy's not going to earn his $108 million. He's not going to lead them to the promised land. He's overrated. Maybe losers a little harsh. Statistics, I said I'm not going to argue statistics, but they mean nothing to me because you can take a guy that maybe had worse statistics. I'll give you an example, all right? And you're going to laugh at me. And I don't think this guy is half the quarterback of Romo, but he's a winner. And who am I talking about?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll throw out. He's religious.
Randall Cunningham?
Nope. He is now trying out for the New England Patriots.
Timothy Tebow.
Right. Now, as I said, his mechanics, his completion stuff, his quarterback rating, minuscule compared to this guy. I don't know how many, you can find this out in statistics. I don't know how many playoff games Tony Romo's won, if it's one, if it's even that. Then if that's the case, Tebow has as many or almost as many playoff wins in 1 year as a quarterback with the Denver Broncos. And that's the difference. And he won games. And he won a playoff game by slinging it out there. Probably the best pass he's thrown in his life.
I'm not denying. Listen, there's no doubt that Tony Romo is not a playoff quarterback. But that could be more about his team than him. It's a combination of everything. Because Mark Sanchez somehow got his team into didn't he get to the AFC Conference Final a couple years ago? It's not always about the quarterback.
You know the funny thing?
These one and done situations.
Mark Sanchez was actually better back then than he is now.
He's regressed, so that's partial.
Right.
I don't think Tony Romo's regressed. I think he is where he is, and you know what? That's a funny little. It's a good thing to view, but I'd like to move on before we close out today with your what should become a most listened to segment, because I think it's brilliant, and it's called In a Word, and we're going to go the Sports Week in Review from last week, looking back at what happened last week. So, are you ready?
Right. One word you said?
This is one word. This is where I'm going to give you the name of an athlete, and you are going to tell me what you think. In one word. You only have one word to describe it.
One word. Okay, let's go.
Let's start the clock. We have a minute. Tick-tock. Jason Duffner.
Winner.
Jim Furyk.
Almost.
Tiger Woods.
Failure.
Oh, that's harsh. Alex Rodriguez.
Annoying.
I'd also say cheater. Okay. Michael Wiener.
I'd like to say what I really want to say, but I'm going to say gutless.
All right. Usain Bolt.
Lightning.
Okay. Rex Ryan.
Help.
I need somebody help. Yes, he's in trouble. Johnny Autograph Manziel.
Trouble.
LeBron James.
Juror.
Oh, our favorite guy, Mark Sanchez.
Who?
It could be after this season, that's for sure. And rounding it out, your favorite sports owner, Mark Cuban.
Egomaniac.
Yeah, that's not going on a limb. Well, I like that, and I'm sure our listeners out there could think of some other words to describe these guys, and maybe if they do, they can send a comment our way. You know,
before we end, I just want to kind of promote something here that we do, an article we do at the end of each week of the NFL regular season games, and sometimes even into the playoffs, and that is our NFL recap. Along the same lines as a one word to describe the game, like the games of the week. It's not one word, but it's kind of like one phrase to describe the game or the team being played in those games. 32 teams. What my and your feeling of that team during that week is. So look for that coming. We're looking at a few weeks now, and also look for another podcast, hopefully sometime next week, when we'll discuss more of the stories of the week. I want to thank you, Comish, for taking the time and being here today. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for being always wrong and me always being right.
Well, anyway, have a good night.
Yes, and I think we should also send our condolences to the family of Ronald Lee Homer, who died yesterday when he fell from the at Turner Field. That's you don't go to sports events to die, and it's an unfortunate accident. But our thoughts and prayers are with him.
I'm not going to make a joke just yet. I'm going to say, yes, condolences.
There is no joke you can make about this.
No, it's tragic. It's really tragic. I'm not going to say anything about this poor guy. Tragic. This is not the way to go. This is not where you want to go. This is going out and having fun and enjoying the game. And a very tragic end. But what I'll say is, neither are you a African American baseball player playing in San Francisco and getting a banana thrown in your direction.
Well, you'll have to tell me more about that. I have not read that story, but I'll check it out on Sportmentary.com. I'm sure it's a good one.
Yeah, I wrote an article about that. All right, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you next week.